Hello, this is Teresa Oakley. I'm going to be giving a brief bite-sized session now on ORCiD for researchers. So this is a pretty brief session just to introduce you to this tool. It's a bit more than a tool really, of ORCiD. So today we're going to look at what ORCiD is and why it's actually essential to have one and to know how to get one, and actually also the benefits of having one. So what is ORCiD and why is it important? So ORCiD was launched in 2012 as a free-to-use registry to provide researchers with unique persistent identifiers, ORCiD IDs. It aims to make a huge difference to a researcher's ability to gain full credit for their work and provide a useful tool for universities as they track, evaluate and report research work. So ORCiD, ORCiD, is an acronym for Open Researcher and Contributor ID. It's a global not-for-profit organisation which is sustained by fees from ORCiD member organisations. It's a simple but brilliant concept. It strives to enable transparent and trustworthy connections between researchers, their contributions and their affiliations by providing a unique persistent identifier, the ID bit, for individuals to use as they engage in research, scholarship and innovation activities. There are three interrelated strands that create this. One is the actual ID itself, which is the unique persistent identifier, which is free of charge to researchers. Then there's an ORCiD record, which is connected to that ORCiD ID. And then there are also a set of application programming interfaces or APIs, and these enable interoperability between the ORCiD record and member organisations, so that researchers can choose to allow connection of their ID with their affiliations and contributions. So there's also a thing called an affiliation manager, and that allows the organisation to help track the impact of research. So it's kind of like a two-way thing really, where it massively benefits you because it links all of your work that you've done via this persistent identifier. And regardless of whether you have changed your name, because the persistent identifier goes with you even if you change your name. But it also allows the institution, for example, to track the impact of research that's being produced at its institution. So it's really fantastic tool. So why is having an ORCiD account important? I've probably just alluded to some of that already. So it brings all of your research publications together in one place. A researcher's name often isn't enough to reliably identify the author of or contributor to a paper excuse me, published in a scientific journal or a dataset uploaded to a repository. Many researchers share the same name, while others have different names during their career or different variations of the same one. For example, R. Jones, Richard Jones and Richard M. Jones could all refer to the same person. And I always like to remind people about this story, which is a true story, of Brian Cox, as in Professor Brian Cox, the Brian Cox, particle physics professor at the University of Manchester. He hasn't actually got an ORCiD ID. And there's another Professor Brian Cox at the University of Alabama at the Research Institute there on aging, and he frequently gets Brian Cox's articles added to his ORCiD account. So it's just really to demonstrate how useful it is to have a unique identifier and to make sure that your work is attributed to you and not to somebody else. I'm not sure Brian Cox is actually that bothered, but maybe he doesn't know. You may have funder requirements that insist on having an ORCiD ID as well. and publisher requirements as well. And the ORCiD ID feeds out to databases that provide citation metrics and alternative metrics as well. So ORCiD records are increasingly able to link to other sources of professional information and identifiers such as Scopus or Researcher ID or LinkedIn, and can be used in applications or submissions as well. So this means that citations to your papers that could get lost, but and you could be credited with citations from the wrong papers, but by tying your publications and research outputs to your ORCiD ID, they actually become more discoverable. And as I said, publisher requirements are quite important in this as well. Some of the publishers do require you to have an ORCiD ID. Again, attributing authorship correctly is a major issue for publishers. As I say, many publishers are now incorporating ORCiD identifiers into their manuscript submission systems and peer reviewing processes. Using your ORCiD identifier may speed up the manuscript process, and your ORCiD profile can be automatically updated by the publisher once your manuscript is accepted and then later published. So ultimately, this independent and reliable identifier can also help to ensure that data entered in one system can be accurately assigned in another. I think that is so important, thereby removing the need to enter the same data into a variety of research management systems separately, and providing a source of such information which can be transferred from institution to institution if you actually, move somewhere else. Eventually, it may be possible to embed ORCiD identifiers into all key workflows, such as profile maintenance, manuscript submissions, grant and patent applications, to support better system-to-system communication, integration and authentication. So that's the dream, obviously, and we are definitely moving towards that. So I can see that happening in the future. So at the University of Worcester, our repository, as you know, is RAP. So I just wanted to just put this on the slide here to remind you of RAP, and you can have a look on the repository and look for others' work and find their ORCiD IDs. So you could find an ORCiD ID for somebody, put that in, and then see everything that they have published, which will be showing on RAP. So, as I say, a bite-sized session. If you do one thing today, once you've watched this, please sign up for an ORCiD ID. It's very easy to do. It's available free of charge to individuals, and you can register in a very short amount of time. Add information about you, your employment, your education, import your articles, books, grants, datasets, and more. And use your ORCiD ID on your web page and in your research and scholarly activities. And there is the link there to register. So I urge you to do it. It's a superb way of managing your research outputs and making sure that they are attributed to you and you get the recognition that you deserve, as well as supporting the institution in its outputs and management of those, and for the ref, of course. So thank you very much. I hope that's been helpful. Sign up. Bye.